In an unprecedented turn of events, President Donald Trump embarked on a pivotal diplomatic mission to the Middle East, marking a critical moment in the history of Israeli-Palestinian relations and regional peace. His visit aimed to celebrate and solidify a peace agreement between Israel and the Palestinian factions in Gaza. It was seen by many as a breakthrough in a long-standing conflict that has spanned decades. The trip was widely regarded as one of the most ambitious peace initiatives in recent memory, especially given the volatile and complex nature of the region's politics. The peace deal brokered under the Trump administration promised not only to end the hostilities between Israel and Gaza, but also to open the door for potential long-term stability. This journey, met with both praise and skepticism, was marked by a series of major diplomatic maneuvers, the release of hostages, military commitments, and plans for significant economic redevelopment. Here are the 5 major takeaways from President Trump's visit. An event that could reshape the geopolitics of the Middle East. Takeaway 1. Hostage release, a glimmer of hope. One of the most significant aspects of President Trump's trip was the dramatic release of hostages, an action that was both symbolic and practical in building trust between Israel and the Palestinian factions in Gaza. In the aftermath of years of tension, with countless lives lost and families torn apart, the release of 20 Israeli hostages represented an unexpected but pivotal breakthrough. For many, this moment served as a powerful demonstration of what diplomatic negotiations could achieve, even in the most complicated of circumstances. The hostages, many of whom had been held in Gaza for years, were greeted by emotional reunions with their families. Their freedom was secured under the terms of the ceasefire agreement that President Trump helped broker, symbolizing the first tangible success of the peace talks. The significance of this move was not lost on international observers. Hostage release is often used as a bargaining chip in Middle Eastern conflicts, and its successful execution by the Trump administration signaled a possible shift toward more peaceful and cooperative strategies in the region. The act itself, while highly symbolic, carried with it the weight of years of diplomatic effort, highlighting the role the United States had played in bringing both sides to the negotiating table. It also brought a renewed sense of optimism among the Israeli public, many of whom had lost loved ones in the ongoing conflict. However, while the release of the hostages was a step forward, it was only one piece of a much larger puzzle, and the real challenge would come in sustaining peace in the long term. Takeaway: U.S. involvement in Gaza's reconstruction, a vision for the future. Perhaps one of the most ambitious aspects of President Trump's peace agreement was the commitment to U.S. involvement. In the reconstruction of Gaza, Trump's administration vowed to oversee a massive reconstruction, a project that would help rebuild the war-torn enclave, focusing on infrastructure such as homes, schools, and hospitals. For many Palestinians, the idea that the U.S. would be directly involved in rebuilding Gaza was a significant gesture of goodwill, signaling a long-term commitment to regional stability. The devastation caused by years of conflict had left Gaza in ruins, with large portions of its infrastructure destroyed or severely damaged. The promise of rebuilding, especially under American leadership, was seen as a major step toward restoring normalcy and offering hope to a population that had long suffered under both occupation and internal strife. In practical terms, the reconstruction of Gaza would require an enormous financial investment, as well as logistical expertise to navigate the complex political and social landscape of the region. The U.S. was poised to work closely with international aid organizations, the United Nations, and other key stakeholders to direct funding and resources into this ambitious project. However, success of this initiative hinged on the ability to maintain peace and cooperation between the various factions within Gaza and Israel. Given the historical animosity and distrust between the two sides, many observers were cautious about the long-term viability of such a project. Nevertheless, the plan was a clear indication of the Trump administration's desire to move beyond mere ceasefire agreements and take proactive steps toward a lasting peace. Takeaway 3. Israeli military presence, a security blanket or a hindrance? While the peace deal included many elements aimed at improving the lives of ordinary Palestinians, it also contained a controversial provision. Israel would maintain an open-ended military presence within Gaza and along its borders. This aspect of the agreement was a major point of contention, with critics questioning whether it would undermine the very peace that the deal sought to create. Israel's military presence was framed as necessary to ensure the long-term security of the region, particularly in preventing Hamas or other militant factions from resuming attacks on Israeli soil. The Israeli government argued that without a sustained military presence, the peace agreement could easily unravel, as Gaza remained a hotbed of extremist activity. On the other hand, many Palestinians viewed the continued Israeli military presence as a violation of their sovereignty and a potential obstacle to true peace. They feared that the presence of foreign troops would further fuel resentment and mistrust among the population, making it harder to build the kind of lasting peace that the agreement intended. The broader international community, while generally supportive of the peace deal, expressed concern about the implications of continued Israeli military presence, especially in light of the delicate balance required to maintain order in Gaza. Ultimately, the success of the agreement would depend on how effectively Israel and Hamas could work together to manage security concerns, while also respecting the autonomy of the Palestinian people. Takeaway 4. International praise and recognition. Trump's diplomatic triumph following the successful completion of the peace deal. President Trump received widespread praise from world leaders and diplomats for his efforts in bringing about a ceasefire between Israel and Hamas. Many commentators were quick to point out that Trump's diplomacy in the Middle East was a major departure from the more traditional approaches taken by previous U.S. administrations. His willingness to engage directly with both Israeli and Palestinian leaders, as well as his unorthodox negotiation tactics, had yielded what some observers were calling an unprecedented breakthrough. Some even suggested that Trump deserved the Nobel Peace Prize for his role in securing the agreement. Given the historical significance of the moment, despite the mixed reactions from critics, who questioned the long-term feasibility of the deal, the international community largely recognized the magnitude of Trump's achievement. The peace deal had the potential to reshape the dynamics of Middle Eastern geopolitics, offering new opportunities for cooperation between Arab nations and Israel. Several key players, including Saudi Arabia and Egypt, praised the U.S. for its leadership and expressed a willingness to work with Israel and the Palestinian Authority on the implementation of the agreement. While there were still deep divides between the parties involved, the peace deal represented a major step forward, and many believed that it could act as a catalyst for further diplomatic progress in the region. Takeaway 5. Challenges ahead. The road to sustainable peace. Despite the high hopes surrounding the peace agreement, experts warned that the true test would lie in the implementation of the deal and the ANH's ongoing efforts to maintain peace in the long term. The region had witnessed numerous failed peace initiatives in the past, and the history of broken promises and unresolved conflicts made many wary of the agreement's sustainability. One of the biggest challenges would be ensuring that both Israel and Hamas adhered to the terms of the deal. Given the long-standing animosity between the two sides, there was always the risk that one party would violate the agreement, causing the fragile peace to collapse. Additionally, the political and social realities within Gaza posed a significant challenge. Hamas, a militant group that had controlled Gaza for years, would need to make significant concessions in order to fully cooperate with Israel. The ideological divide between Hamas and the more moderate Palestinian factions also raised concerns about the potential for internal divisions to derail the peace process. Furthermore, the question of what role other regional actors, such as Iran and Hezbollah, would play in the ongoing conflict remained uncertain. The economic challenges of rebuilding Gaza also loomed large. Even with significant U.S. investment in the region, it was unclear whether the funds would be sufficient to address the widespread poverty and unemployment that had plagued the area for decades. International support, while essential, would need to be sustained over many years in order to create meaningful change. Ultimately, while the peace deal represented a historic achievement. The road to lasting peace in the Middle East remained fraught with challenges. As President Trump and his administration continue to push for a resolution to the Israeli-Palestinian conflict, it will be critical for both sides to engage in honest, sustained dialogue and work toward a vision of peace that benefits all parties involved.